Nah, it's your boy Sermon, the sermonsdomain.com, and we're chilling here with Talib Kweli, man. How you doing?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Right. So you just rocked Seattle, man. I remember when you were here last year and you brought Macklemore out at the Crocodile, and now, you know, he brought you out on this tour.
It's been a long year. It's been a lot of changes this year, man.
Yeah.
Like, I remember when I brought Macklemore out at the Crocodile, you know, I was familiar with, like, the heist that just came out. You know, I was familiar with his pedigree, and I was familiar with his hometown hero status, but I didn't know really his skill level. And I remember bringing him out to the Crocodile. After rocking the show, I had a great time, but when he got on the stage, the energy level of the crowd went up because he was a hometown dude and because he was killing it. I remember thinking, like, oh, wow, I can't take no break right now. This is not break time. Like, I got to come back with a hard verse. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay, so December 15th marks the second album of this year. You got Prisoner Conscious that came out in April, and now we're getting Gravitas. So it's rare that happens in hip-hop, 2 albums in 1 year. So what made you make that decision to put out another one this year?
I just decided that this year I'm going to do everything like DMX. Everything that DMX did in 1998, I'm going to do in 2013. That was my motto. That was my New Year's resolution. No, just bullshit. Like, I was very happy with the reception of Prisoner Conscious. You know, I worked very hard on it. I worked 4 years on it. It was a long time coming. Had a lot of guests on it, a lot of collaborators. There was a lot that went into Prisoner Conscious. It was the first partnership with myself and EMI. I did 9 videos for Prisoner Conscious. But Ryan Leslie stepped to me with a platform that I just got so excited about, having my own website where fans can come direct to me, qualityclub.com. Ryan Leslie put me on, and I was so excited with the idea of it. I just wanted to put it out right now. I wanted to see what would happen if I enacted this process right now. And I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna do it, it was back in like October or whatever. I was like, if I'm gonna do it, I need to give myself at least 2 months or so. It needs to come out in December. So I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna go for December and see what happens. And you know, it's just really an experiment. I don't know how it's gonna turn out, but you know, for better or for worse, I'm glad I did it, and I'm following the example of a Louis C.K. or Aziz Ansari, or in the hip hop side like a Radiohead or like Nipsey Hussle. Even Jean Grey released album Gotham Down on jeangray.com. So artists that are doing that, taking their destinies into their own hands, I want to be part of that crew of artists.
Okay, so this album, you said it's just personal, you know, it's like your story. So was it easy to like sort of like translate that, your life and journey, into like, you know, an album?
You know, it's never easy. It's, you know, anything that's worth it is never easy. Gravitas was songs that, there are a couple songs that I had already had in the can, like Lover's Peak, Art Imitates Life, Colors of You, that I knew I wanted to use on a project. But when Ryan Leslie came to me with the idea, that's when I started really, I just put out Prisoner Conscious, but when he came to me with the idea, I got inspired to write. And all these songs came pouring out of me, the other songs, the Rare Portraits. Like, you know, when you read the credits for Gravitas, when you get it, I explain the process, the thought process behind every song. And like, Rare Portraits was me listening to like a lot of J. Cole and Kendrick. And be like, why do people like J. Cole and Kendrick so much? And it's like, because they have the skill, they have a high level of skill, but they're also being honest to a fault. They're not pulling no punches in their honesty. It reminded me of why people like 50 and Eminem back in 2004. There's like that honesty in it. And I had never done a record where I'm really just telling my story, talking about the people I interacted with coming up in the game and this and that. That's something J. Cole does very well. You know, he talks a lot about, I let Nas down, or this is how I was feeling when Jay-Z dissed me, or this is like real personal like that. And as long as my career has been going on, I've done records like that, but not in volume, you know. And so I did that with Rare Portraits. You know, State of Grace was a record I did. I had an argument with you know, the Crunk Collective, you know, black feminist group, you know, online group that you know, is respected in feminist circles, but we had a disagreement this year about how to handle like the Rick Ross lyric situation and the way that I came about it. They didn't like the way I came about it, and so that song, I did a song talking about how so many women are falling out of love with hip hop because they don't relate to the subject matter. You know, they want to like it, you know, and what we can do as a community to make that better. Like, there's things that went on in my life this year that were inspirational to me and allowed me to just write and come up with an album very quickly after Prisoner Conscious.
So you also timed it precisely to drop, you know, right after the tour with Ryan Lewis and Macklemore and Big Crit. Do you feel like this method has been like effective?
Yeah, I don't know if these people are coming out to see me on the Macklemore, Brian Lewis tour are the Kweli Club fans. I'm more selling Prisoner of Conscious to them because Prisoner of Conscious had a bigger release, has more key artists that they recognize. Like you saw the show, I could get on stage and be like, yo, I got a song with Kendrick Lamar, I got Miguel,
right, and they get hyped.
I got the RZA, Wu-Tang. I can draw them in if they're not quite familiar with what I do. I can bring in artists that are more mainstream and pop and associate myself with those artists and draw them into what I do, and then bring them the rudiments of what I do. QualityClub.com, Gravitas is more for the fan who already is checking for me. Like if you're the type of fan that got the Attack the Block mixtape, you got Gutter Rainbow, you got Revolutions Per Minute, you're not just somebody who know me from Get By. You've been following my career, you invested in what I do. This album is for you. The Prisoner of Conscious album is more for the whole world.
Okay, so on the album you have an unreleased beat from J Dilla. So is that something you held on to for years, or?
Yeah, the J Dilla joint, Colors of You, I had done in time for Prisoner of Conscious, but right as I was about to put out Prisoner of Conscious, Prisoner of Conscious has 3 or 4 songs that deal with relationships. And so the 2 songs, I took off 2 songs that dealt with relationships. Colors of You, even though Colors of You only deals with relationships in the first verse, and Lover's Peak. Those songs, I was actually going to do like a Valentine's Day package in February last year with Lover's Peak and Colors of You, just to like on TuneCore or something. But then I was like, you know what, let me hold on to this song because it's going to be a project that I'm going to want to attach this song to, and Gravitas was it.
Also on the album is Raekwon, and you know it seems like this collaboration is long overdue. So why did it take so long to happen?
Ray is somebody that I've known in the game for a long time. We've been on tour, you know. We done drank and smoked a lot together. Like that's the homie. We talked a lot about doing records. Like we have a couple of records together. There's a record that RZA hasn't put out yet that I did that got Raekwon on it for something he was doing. He was doing like Wu Wednesdays or something last year, right?
Right, yeah.
That he hasn't put out yet. And then me and Raekwon had a record with High Tech on the High Tech album. You know, but we've always been in cahoots. And we've been talking. I sent him a verse for his new album that he's working on. And then when he see me drop the track list, when I originally started talking about Gravitas, talking about the people be on it, he DM'd me on Twitter. He hit me in public timeline on Twitter like, yo, let me hop on the album. You know what I'm saying? So I retweeted him and then DM'd him like, what's up? You know, and then 2 days later we was in the lab in New Jersey, and you know, we stayed up all night. We talked about what type of rounds we wanted to do. We listened to a bunch of beats. He liked the Thaddeus Dixon joint. My man Thaddeus Dixon, a drummer from Detroit, lives in LA. You know, I had a bunch of beats on deck. Ray picked it, and we just started going back and forth. Like, that's the song on the album that is the most organic, I think, because that was a song that I really went to sit with Raekwon, and we stayed up all night making that joint.
Yeah, and that shows too. So this year was also the Wu-Tang Clan's 20th anniversary. So I wanted to ask, what's your favorite Wu-Tang song and album?
I mean, definitely Enter the 36 Chambers is definitely my favorite album, followed closely by, you know, Cuban Links, Iron Man. You know, I like those albums a lot. But I mean, Wu-Tang songs, I mean, you know, Triumph. I made a list on my Tumblr page about top, you know, 100 hip-hop singles ever of all time. And I think Triumph made mine. Oh no, verses, that's what it was. I did singles, and I did verses, and I did albums. I don't remember if I did 100 verses. I did 100 singles, like 50 albums, something like that. But verses, I did verses, like 50 verses. And I think, you know, Inspect the Deck with Triumph was like, I think number 2 or 3 top verse of all time for me. So I would have to pick Triumph.
Okay, so my last question. Only Hip Hop Facts on Twitter posted an interesting tweet that kind of caught my attention. It said that you had you met Biggie while you were at a party with Tupac. So, like, you know, can you share like the the story behind that? And
yeah,
all that?
Shout out to Only Hip Hop Facts. I want to, you know, they really support what I do. Yeah, I mean, I used to work for. My best friend and one of my best friends is John Forte. He was managed by Jessica Rosenbaum. Classic party promoter in New York. She still does one of the hottest parties. Like if he was in New York on Sunday, we'd be at SL right now with Who Kid and Jessica Rosenbaum right now. Like, John Forte was managed by Jessica Rosenbaum. At that time, she managed Bismarcky, Big Cap, Funkmaster Flex, DJ Enough, and John Forte. And she used to do parties with Puffy at the Red Zone and Tunnel called Daddy's House Parties and Tavern the Green. Planet Rock was another party. And I used to hand out the flyers for those parties, and I used to be, my job was to go get people into these parties when I was 15, 16, 17. So around that time in my life, I'm around Busta Rhymes and Wu-Tang and Diddy and everybody who's popping in the scene, and I'm seeing like just the culture. So I'm going to the country club and the Tavern in the Green and the Tunnel and the Red Zone and the Boom Spot and all this. Me, John Forte, my man Rubik's, my man Juju, and we're hanging out. But like when like an artist would come through the Tunnel to rock, Funkmaster Flex to the Tunnel, like Domino would come to the Tunnel to Ghetto Jam. It'd be my job to put up all the Ghetto Jam posters in the Tunnel, you know. And it's like, so yeah, I was hanging out a lot and I was drinking a lot and smoking a lot of pot, and you know, Biggie was somebody who was a fixture on the scene. And this was the time of history where Biggie and Tupac was really spending a lot of time together. Like at Quad Studios, I was recording my demos at Quad. I was hanging out with Little Sean and them, you know what I'm saying? So I was like I was a little kid on the scene watching Andre Harrell and Puff and Big and Tupac and all them, Stretch and all these people that have become classic and legendary in the hip hop world. You know, being from New York, I was blessed to see all that when I was little. And so I dropped out of that scene to go to NYU to study acting. I had kids. I sort of dropped out of the scene. When I dropped out of the party scene, that's when I started taking my craft more seriously. So when I took my craft more seriously, I came back around 5-6 years later on Raucous, underground, but I had these relationships. So when Raucous started, you know, Raucous was this anti-Hot 97, anti-Diddy thing, but I know enough in Funkmaster Flex and Puff, and these are people that I know very well, that I'm friends with, that I saw in the grimy underground hip-hop spots. So it's like my perspective is different. Like when people talk about Puff, I seen Puff at the underground shit for real. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, to me, I have a different, when I see him blow up and become a mogul, I'm rooting for that success. Instead of like, oh, he's a sellout, or he's this and that. Like, so I realized that with my relationship with somebody like a Kanye West or a Jay-Z, I'm kind of behind like the fourth. I've been blessed to see things that people don't see. A lot of times, the first time they have a relationship with this person, they're being played on the radio 5 times an hour, and you're sick of it already. But I've seen how that started. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, it's your boy Sermon, thesermonsdomain.com. Kweli, let them know what the album is.
Gravitas. Go to qualityclub.com. Go get that, man.
Yes, and physical copies come out February
4th. Shout out to Fat Beats. Yes. They're helping me with the physical. You know what I'm saying? And you know, get the digital if you want to listen to it. But if you want to own it in your hand and hold it like a piece of something, February 4th. You can pre-order it right now. Help me pay for the samples and all that.